Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So today I wanted to get a little bit deeper into my life story because I know you guys don't know a lot about me. Um, my life, I grew up in a Christian family, good home. My parents were married very young. My dad was 22, and my mom was 18. And my dad met my mom in New Zealand when he was serving his mission in New Zealand. And he baptized my mom's family, including her. And then he came back to Fresno, California, where he lived, and then decided to go back and pursue my mom. So he did, and they got married in the New Zealand temple out there. So you can probably speculate what religion I am. But my mom grew up in a very, very weird atmosphere. Her father, raised her and her two stepsisters after his first wife committed suicide. That had a really, really messed up, traumatic. It was a very traumatic experience, not for my mom in particular, but for her two stepsisters. And I was mistaken because she wasn't even born yet. So it was just the two stepsisters at the time. They lost their mother. And then my granddad, he remarried my Nana. And then, interestingly enough, just to tell you a little bit about his, my Nana, she grew up in a really messed up home also. Her father was a drunk and he was very abusive. And his mom, because of the abuse, was mentally abusive with her. And she didn't have a very good self-esteem and a very good childhood. So she brought that into the marriage with my granddad. So my granddad already had his trauma from his first marriage because his wife had severe depression. So you pretty much remarried the same type of person, but only in a different way. So they kind of trauma bonded. And then years and years passed, and, my mom, she dealt with the trauma from her stepsisters, not only from that, but she dealt with the trauma from her mother and her dad. And that was kind of passed down to her. And in turn, when getting married so young without understanding her traumas, she passed on her traumas down to me and my three sisters. Always super critical of herself, she projected those feelings on us. So, am I saying my mom was a bad person? No, she wasn't. In fact, I love my mom, even though we didn't have a very good relationship when I was a child because of, the problems that I had when I was a kid. Granted, the fact that my mom never, did anything terrible to me. She wasn't the one who molested me when I was 3 or 4. It was actually my babysitter. And she was always there, for us kids, even though it was really hard on her to be hundreds of miles away from her family who actually moved to Australia. And then I guess for me, my whole childhood was nothing was ever good enough. But yet my mom, because of her trauma, she, dropped out of high school and all this other crap happened. My dad, however, had a really rough childhood too. His mom had severe bipolar disorder, and his dad had a severe, personality disorder where he was constantly seeking praise and love because he didn't have love for himself. So it was kind of like the same thing on both sides of the family, same kind of traumas. He was, they came up in broken homes, and so everything kind of, offset each other. And my parents had a pretty, they had a good relationship, but it was the same thing. It was trauma bonding, have they gotten to a point now where they've understood it and they're starting to change? Yeah, they have. I kind of pursued kind of the same path, only differently. My dad told me about his minor addictions, you know, to light porn back in the day, because that's what they already had. You know, they had back in the day. And then my mom never shared with us all the things that she was exposed to as a child. Never shared with shared with us her unconscious trauma. So obviously they taught us good principles, but it was mingled with, you know, traumatic responses, which had an effect on, you know, us as kids. Roll the tape, you know, forward to, you know, my childhood. When I feel like I had a pretty good childhood. I feel like it was good until, you know, the time where those incidents occurred where I was molested and then introduced to pornography. I feel like I had a pretty good childhood. Unfortunately, my mom, she didn't have a very good, you know, sexual education, and neither did my dad. And so uh, the biggest mistake was not putting me in sex ed class back in, you know, taking me out, because they didn't feel comfortable with the subject. And they never felt comfortable with the subject because they never taught us anything about it. So I never had this healthy outlook on relationships until later on in my life. Yeah, 30 years later, after my marriage is said and done and all that other stuff. But now that's neither here nor there, because I'm happy with the place that I'm at. I know that had I not gone through all that, I probably wouldn't be able to help as many people along the way. I just wanted to share this you know, 7-minute video with you guys. It gives you a little bit more details about where my trauma comes from, why I suffered, and was it really suffering? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Was it really suffering, or was it just a part of the plan? Anyways, you guys have a great one, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.